Hey man, welcome back to Man Time. Today's episode, it's a red chainsaw. What the hell is this? So I got this saw. This was my most expensive saw, but that's only because I hit a cardboard box on the interstate flying out of somebody's truck and had to replace my front fascia on my Subaru. Other than that, we're going to be tearing this one down, porting it out, putting a pop-up piston in it, you know, doing all the manly things you can do to a chainsaw to it. So stick around. Welcome to Man Time. So if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. I don't do chainsaws all the time, but I've been on this kind of chainsaw kick. It's the dog days of summer, and in the afternoons I like to get out and relax in the 100-degree weather and work on chainsaws or, you know, whatever. It's kind of too hot to be too active, so, you know, this channel is all about manly things, getting dirty. You'll see, you know, 4 main categories of videos here: tools on the farm, yellow iron, chainsaws, and farming. You know, that's basically what's going on here. This is a working hay farm, and I am the man on the farm. So I invite you to join along with me in these series about homesteading and farmsteading. This is a 2165 chainsaw. It had some scoring on it. I got it. The muffler, matter of fact, the muffler's right here. The muffler was just all kind of in disarray and bashed in. Still, you know, not a bad muffler, but I put a aftermarket Holzforma, what they call I think a Smogger muffler. I don't know. Put that one on there just to try it out, test it out. But while I was in here, I saw that there was some scoring on the piston, so I've got a pop-up piston for it. I'm going to break this down, time it, and everybody likes these red chainsaws a lot, so we'll see if I can't make this one worth my while. Had to spend $500 on my car fixing it. But these kind of have a neat, like, offset intake. The intake boot on this one was messed up also, so I had to put a new one on there. It's not real tight around this stock OEM filter, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Let's get this torn down, check out the damage, see if there isn't a salvageable cylinder in here, and kind of go from there. So for this video, I'm just going to kind of talk through what I've done so far. Getting the exhaust off is pretty easy. You just take these, there's 2 Allen heads inside of here, 2 Allen heads over here. That comes off, and then all you have to do is disconnect your vacuum and your fuel line and your throttle from your carburetor, and I just pull this whole thing off as one unit. So then at that point, all you've got is 4 bolts through your jug here, and then this kind of clips on to a little kind of rubbery piece back here. And that's as easy as it is getting all this stuff out. Now, when I was looking at this originally, the compression was not real high, and I think this is kind of the main reason. This saw was kind of rode wet and put away hard, so to speak. You can see some of the lines here, and those are like machining marks, but then here it's just all super smooth, right? And same thing on the intake side here, and maybe even more so. It's just super smooth. So what that does, I mean, and it's a good thing too, because this is a original male piston. I'm sorry, male cylinder. It says male like right up in this area here. But man, I got a little worried. You know, everybody likes running these Jonsered red chainsaws. It says 50 ZK6 right there, and I thought, oh god, I got a 48mm piston. I'm screwed. No wonder people like running these 65s. They're actually 70 or 68 cc. They kind of derate them. Not the case though. I measured the piston. It is 48mm, but this piston is wiggling around in there, and the ring was kind of mushy. I think that's the difference really between a good ring and a bad ring. Like a good ring is hard hard tool steel, and a mushy ring is, you know, not tool steel. But anyways, this has got some play in it. I'm not going to take you like bolt by bolt through this. What I'm going to do now is take out my highway piston, get it set in the case here, and do some timing on it. First, check my squish. Again, this style of cylinder with this really thin layer right here of steel around there, that is prone to leaks with the mono seal, or the make-a gasket, as I like to call it, liquid gasket, silicone gasket. It's really prone to leak right here, and even more so if you machine it down. So if I take this and I check the squish, and I've got to throw this in the lathe and machine it, this gets thinner the further down you go, right? If I try to machine this mating surface off here, this gets thinner and thinner and thinner through here. So, you know, keep that in mind for these type of chainsaws. But let's see what we got from Highway here. Nice affordable pop-up piston. Now this color, this almost looks like some of the OEM Husqvarna stuff. So I didn't get a cable ring with this one. I'm going to try the Highway ring on this one, and we'll see how it feels. But yeah, 48 millimeter pop-up piston. Not a very big pop-up, but should do the trick. So I'm going to get this on here and get a timing wheel on there. Check our squish, get some baseline numbers, and we'll check back in with you. Well, I'm checking my squish here, and this is kind of the first thing I do when I get a new piston installed and stuff like that. The last Highway one I got, they did the pop-up, but it looks like they just machined it out of the top of the cylinder, leaving me with a lot of squish, and they did the same thing on this one. So we are 38,000 squish, so I'm going to have to... This makes me upset. I paid good money for this Highway piston. I have no base gasket in there. I've got 38,000 squish. I mean, this is what you're going to have to deal with these Highway pistons, right? You pay for something good, you think you're getting something good, and you've got next to 40,000 squish. Again, no base gasket. That's sitting right here. So now I'm going to have to make a 48 millimeter mandrel. I'm going to have to machine down to get to 20 thousandths, and then put a base gasket in. So the base gasket's 20 thousandths. So essentially I'm taking off 38 thousandths off the bottom of the cylinder just right off the bat to get going. So keep that in mind if you're going to buy one of these Highway pistons. Okay, I think we're about where we need to be. This is pretty important stuff. So this was the first 48 millimeter mandrel that I had to make. So I had to make this first of all, and this is just a nightmare trying to machine this UHMW. And then I measured my gasket here, and it was 30 thousandths. So then to come in at 20 thousandths, I had to actually machine down to an interference fit. And I figured that would squish a little bit, so I was trying to land like right at 25 thousandths. So we'll kind of see where we ended up here. But I want to show you something really cool. I mean, these Highway pistons just make a whole lot of work. Extra compression. Well, I mean, if you're losing your squish, that's not really extra compression, is it? Okay, so I'm right here, just right around 30 thousandths. Yeah, 25. So I went for about 5 thousandths of interference fit, and let me show you what that means. Because not everybody's going to know what interference fit means, right? So I've got a I've got this 30 thousandths gasket, which I figured was going to squish down an additional maybe 5 thousandths that I made. So this is my material here, which is a good thing to know how to make gaskets, because like the 271, 272, 61, 266, like those gaskets are pretty temperamental. But because of the gasket, because of the piston, that's the piston bottoming out against the top of the cylinder there, and that was the only way to get the squish where I wanted it with the gasket that I'm using. And if I end up going with a thinner gasket, I've got a little bit of room there, right? I'm between like 25 and 28 thousandths with this gasket that I made. I think if I get a OEM gasket, they're about 5 thousandths thinner, so it'd be right at 20 thousandths, and then I'm right there at 20 thousandths with my squish. So, but I'm going to use this one. I'm going to stick right around 25 thousandths, and got a nice machined up cylinder. So next stage will be to get it timed with the base gasket. See, this is the first step, right? You got to set your squish, which means machining, because we used a shitty pop-up piston. No other way to say it. Highway, sorry. You need to, and you know why I'm saying that, right? I'm not saying that Highway makes shitty stuff. I'm just saying you need to account for, when you do your pop-up, you need to account for the wrist pin and the dimension between here and the top of the piston to maintain the OEM squish. You don't just take an OEM cylinder, OEM piston, and machine it down, because then you and me, the guys that are trying to work with it and get our 20,000 squish, then have to machine the cylinder. That's what I'm saying. Alright guys, Jonsered 2165. I've been doing some porting. Here's our cylinder with those transfers all nice and worked out. Got my timing numbers right on this intake with some horns on it. Had to take about 1/10 of an inch off the bottom there. The exhaust side, you can see down in there the top of it, nice D-shaped area there, and increased it by about 2 degrees, so just maybe 160, 161, something like that. With that pop-up, it should be just fine. Did a little exhaust modification here. That should hold up pretty good. 1-inch outlet there, and then I was yeah, sometimes it just makes you wonder. This was a running saw. Like I said, I bought it and it was running not really well, and I was like, nah, I'm not even gonna clean the carb. I put a new fuel filter in it. I was like, it'll be fine. Look at there. Always take the time to get in there and clean that carb, and put a fresh kit in it. Alright, well, this is going together pretty good after I get this rebuilt. I also did the plug on the jug here with JB Weld, so that's setting up. Trying to get as much compression and as much power out of this one as I can. So we'll get this rebuilt, get it back together, see how it starts. Alright, so I'm out here heat cycling. This will just be my second heat cycle. So far so good. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the oil that I put down on top of the piston, but it seems like 20-30 pulls is what it takes to get it going. It blows smoke for a little bit and then starts to work after that. But we'll try our second heat cycle here and see if it starts up. It did end up running pretty good. I'm about turn and a quarter high and low. Compression seems pretty good. So we'll see how it goes here. Alright, let's see if we can get the situation to recreate here with how this thing is. See it? You guys see the air bubbles start popping up out of there? That was a little difficult. But you could see blop, 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 blop as it was going around there. Maybe. But anyways, these are the hardest problems to try to fix, the ones that aren't recreatable, right? Let's see if we can do it again. And keep it in frame here. Yeah. Big air bubbles. Every time it would leak there, it was popping that big air bubble out of there. I couldn't get it to do it with the soap, but I didn't try a drill on it when I was working on it late last night. But there you go. And I mean, just looking at that seal, I mean, that looks like a good seal, right? I mean, nothing wrong with anything I'm seeing on this seal, but it is bad. So, here we go. Here is the tool that I made to help me get these seals out of here. Now, we know it's bad. You got to make sure that you have a backup seal, right? But you're going to dig down kind of inside of here and then try to pop it off. So let's see if we can do that. I want to get it underneath, and then there we go. If we can't just pry it up out of here. There we go. Yeah, this tool is really essential for getting that out of there. Your regular little pick is not going to do the job. So I guess before you do that, make sure you have a replacement seal. I should probably check that. We've cleaned our mating surfaces now with a socket that's the same diameter and a brass hammer here. We're going to try to drive this in straight. And you want to make sure to get it started straight. See there, it was kind of down on one side, and then I just came over to this other side and trued it up. Now we can try to drive it in there straight. And check it as you're going. See, not straight. This side is not going down. So there, now it's down. So there. And it was just kind of below the ridge. Looks like this side is still just a little bit further up than everything else. So take the time to look at it. That looks like it is good and straight in there. Again, the distance all the way around the edge here looks to be the same. Okay, I think we're good there. Now we can try the soap test again, see how it plays out. See that? No big bubbles coming up out of there. I think we solved it. Alright, let's get this seal replaced on this other side. I was honestly trying to make a short video. Like one video where it's just, doing the fun stuff and doing the good stuff. And not doing too much in-depth, chatting it up, messing around with stuff that really doesn't need to get done. But this is actually something that needs to get done. So here we can do a clutch inspection and stuff while we're in here too. Man, let me tell you, every aftermarket part that I've put on this so far, nothing fits. So this was damaged. This is an aftermarket. because I'm not going to spend 15 bucks or whatever it is when I can get a kit with this in it. But I mean, look at the fit on this. I mean, it doesn't even fit. And it could be because this is for a 365, or it could just be because it's crap. But so I went out, and having to do this a few times, you know, taking the spark plug out, having to find my piston stop and all that. I got one of these, which I couldn't find either. But let's see if it works without having to put a piston stop in and stuff. Something didn't look good there. Oh, you know what? It's because it broke. So this clutch, yeah, this clutch, it was broken though before I started that, I am pretty sure. Well, that's a good thing to know. Alright, yeah, there's a chunk of it down here. Shoot. That wasn't this thing's fault. This thing worked the way that it was supposed to, so that's good. If you're looking at getting one of these, you know, the alternative is just putting your piston stop in there and stuff, but that's pretty handy. Has this ever happened to you where your organizational paradigm is just so advanced even you can't find where you placed it? That happened to me. So there is a little tiny O-ring right inside of here. And I knew about that previously, but how do you... And this just looks like an empty bag, right? No, there's actually little tiny O-rings right inside of there. And the part number is right there. Cheapest place I've found to get these is on Amazon. 503-263019. So I got to this point, and I see that crushed little O-ring down inside of there, and I'm like, oh geez, here we go. So I decided to search through every single thing, and I guess I had this bag in with a bag with some other parts that was, you know, anyways. We managed to find it. I did show a trick there where you might be able to use one of your O-rings from one of your Harbor Freight kits right around there to seal it. But in trying to build a reliable system here, I mean, I guess if I really wanted a truly reliable system, I would have split the case and taken it completely down to nothing, which I, you know, probably should have done, but didn't. So. Anyways, let's see if the trick to get this gasket off of there works as well. Yeah, this one is being a little stubborn. There we go. A little pop, and we got her. See, this one is a little bit thinner, a little bit smaller, and it has that bigger opening, so that's going to be our replacement. Alright, so this one here is the same as the other one. I'm not going to be able to rotate it towards you, but you can see here, I mean, it's just, it slips over and it's loose on there, right? There's nothing like holding it to the shaft, so I guess you could see, it's going to be sealing against this, right? So this is that collar, and you're going to be putting this on there after this bearing's already in there. So you want to make sure, like, it's going to be able to go in there. And inspecting this to make sure that it's still, you know, all in spec. Now, one thing you could do is take and file this down around here, just to make sure it's going to go in there. The other thing you can do is install it here, you know, outside the saw before you put it in there. Making sure that you remember to put that little O-ring on there. This is a tight fit. Yeah, I don't know that we would want to try to put this on there after the fact, because it may prolapse it here. And putting it on like this, maybe, yeah, so it goes on pretty easily that way. I think that's how I'm going to put it on there. So what we want to do is put our O-ring down in there first. Alright, one pro tip here. If your sockets are all beat up and abused like mine are, make sure you get a file and like make sure this is flat and doesn't have anything. See, this one here had little bruises, I guess you could call them, on there. So that one wouldn't have been good. We would have been kind of damaging our... And that's not going down on there either. Okay. Well, I need to find a different one with a little thinner wall. Huh. If not, like I said, we can take something like a piece of metal and go around there and do it that way. Alright, I think we found one that's going to work here. 3/4. And this one is just finely polished. Maybe my most used one here. Nice and square, nice and straight. Okay, looks like we got her. Uh-oh. How does that look? Not like it should. Nope, we hit it down there too far. Too far. It needed to be more flush. Shoot. Well, note to self. Don't knock it down there so far. Maybe I got another one. Alright guys, I tried to make this kind of a short one. I wanted to get to the good part, like right away, show you just some of the highlights. We got a little hung up there on the crank seal bearings. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the price of this saw. This was actually about $100 saw. I put up maybe another 50 bucks in parts into it. There was the throttle cable. I found a used one. Normally those are about 30 bucks. Had to get a new intake, and then let's see here. It was just messed up. Like I said, the throttle was jacked up. It was in rough shape. I probably should have known better than to trust those crank seals. But anyways, that was about 100 bucks. The bad news is when I went over to pick it up, I hit a cardboard box on the interstate. That blew half of my front fascia off of my car. I had about a $600 repair there. And I'm into this one for probably over at least 15 hours labor. And, you know, 60, 80 bucks an hour of your time, that's not worth nothing. So, you know, your time's worth something. So even at, you know, 50 bucks, this saw is probably coming in around 15, 1600 bucks, just kind of off the top of my head there. But, let's see here, I had to get a new bar for it, so maybe another 50, 60 bucks there. I really like this Oregon VersaCut Light. But anyways, what we did there, we did new highway pop-up piston. Again, that one, they don't take into consideration the wrist pin and the distance there, so I had to machine down the bottom, a lot of machining. On this one, a lot of port work, and then had to go in and go back through and do those crank seals. But let me start it up and show you what a good sounding chainsaw with no crank seal and bottom end leak sounds like. And then I'm going to do 3 different tests. I'm going to put this saw up against a stock 365. So basically the same thing, 48 millimeter, 36 millimeter stroke, same basic saw. And then I'm going to have it punch up above its weight and go up against the ported 61, which is now a 272 with a big bore kit. So I think this one can probably do it. Let's start her up here and just kind of listen to it idle. See there how all like the RPMs were kind of consistent across the board there? Man, I don't like these aftermarket start switches either. This thing was just missing all kinds of parts. The oil cap leaked oil. When I got the saw, the throttle cable was actually cut and tied in a knot around something to make it work. I don't know if it was the trigger or what it was. So the trigger was worn out from that. But anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one up against the stock 365. We'll start off with the 365. We'll go to this one, and then we'll go into some bigger wood against the 272. Let's get to it. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, look at these chips. Just chunks. Ripping. Alright, man. Well, there you have it. The results from porting this 2165 $1,500 chainsaw. Was it worth it? Does it hang with the 272 small bore long stroke versus big bore small stroke or short stroke? I feel I'm going to put the times on the video so you'll know before I do. I'm just, you know, kind of right after I get done cutting what I was feeling. Really impressed actually with the stock saw. The stock saw didn't seem like it was too far behind this. Did a little tweaking and tuning before I went back into the wood. On the bigger side, I did small side with the 365, and then this one that's ported that's also 65. And then on the bigger side here, it was tuned to running maybe a little bit better. But man, I felt like it really hung with the 72cc. I think that longer stroke, you know, gives it some sort of an advantage. And the light bar on it, you know, makes it pretty nice. And it's not something you're going to want to, you know, worry about leaving on the job site or anything. Anybody who sees this is going to go, I better get this piece of junk back to whoever owns it, you know. So, anyways, that's going to do it for today on Man Time. Get out there, have you some man time too.